All right, Bannock County Commissioners are now in session. First item on our agenda is indigent business.
Yes, Chantel Laulu with Indigent Services. The first case that I have for you is case number 2025-0003. It's an application for cremation expenses through Corn Nielsen Funeral Home in the amount of $1,200. The deceased is a Bannock County resident, was not a veteran. With the information that I did obtain, it does appear that they meet criteria to be eligible for assistance, and there is no responsible party available for repayment of this request at this time. The second case that I have for you is case number 2025-0004. It's an application for cremation expenses through Wilkes Funeral Home in the amount of $1,200. The applicant is a 64-year-old female who's applying for cremation expenses for her 51-year-old brother. The deceased was a Bannock County resident, was not a veteran. With all of the information that I did obtain, it does appear that they meet criteria to be eligible for assistance, and the applicant has agreed to a $25 a month repayment plan upon approval of this application. And the last application or case that I have for you is case number 2025-0005. It's an application for cremation expenses through Wilkes Funeral Home in the amount of $1,200. The applicant is a 54-year-old female who is applying for cremation expenses for her 66-year-old significant other. He's a Bannock County resident, was not a veteran. With the information that I did obtain, it does appear that they meet criteria, and she has agreed to a $25 a month repayment plan upon approval of this application.
Any questions? Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve cases 2025-0003, 2025-0004, and 2025-0005 as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Matt?
Good morning, Matt Olson, Bannock County Juvenile Justice. I'm here to request a signature on an agreement between the University of Cincinnati Research Institute and Bannock County. This is for University of Cincinnati Research Institute to provide a training to 10 of our staff. The training is called EPICS, which stands for Effective Practices in Community Supervision. We've actually had them come provide this training for us before in 2019. And it was very effective training. We do have a number of new staff, though, that need to be trained in this. We originally requested $15,000 in the county B budget to pay for this training. However, we were able to include this training request in terms of the funding and a grant that we received from the Department of Juvenile Corrections that was funded. So the funding for this will come through that grant with the Department of Juvenile Corrections that was submitted by the village as part of the sustainability for the village. One of the things I think is critical about this training is this isn't a training where you just go to it and listen and then you hopefully go implement things. This is an intensive training. They come and provide 3 days of on-site training to staff. They teach the curriculum, but then they actually have you practice the skills. After that 3-day training, the staff also participate in submitting 5 audio tapes to trainers at University of Cincinnati, who then review those audio tapes and then score them for implementation of these practices. The idea is these practices have been shown by research to really enhance positive outcomes for youth and families in the community. So they get that additional feedback over 5 months on their skills, plus we have 1 training per month for an additional 5 months worth, all our staff together. So right now this training for $15,000 would train 10 of our staff, but like I said, it's an ongoing intensive training. It's really about skill acquisition versus just going to a conference and learning about something. In addition, they train supervisors to become coaches so that we can help sustain the skills that they acquire by having them submit tapes to us that we then code and give them feedback and meet on so we can maintain their skills. So we really see this as helping our staff be consistent so that, you know, who you have as a probation officer, if we're using the same practices, the same skills, the same interventions, it can be very helpful. We utilize, as part of this, motivational interviewing, and we use cognitive behavioral interventions as part of this, which is important because high-risk kids need more intervention than a once-a-week counseling session. So this helps augment some of the intervention services that they're already receiving. So really I appreciate the training structure that they utilize, and the way it focuses on competency and skill acquisition. In addition to the 10 that can be trained, the staff who've already been trained, they said would be able to participate as a refresher in this training as well. So that'll be nice for us to have those staff go through that refresher as well.
Questions?
Nope.
Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the services agreement as presented.
Have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shanda.
Ernie, can you grab that contract? He'll take it to that report.
Okay.
I got your signature first. Then I'll give it to her.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioner. Shannon Criswell, Chief Procurement Officer. I have one item before the board today, and that is to request a signature on the change order with Western Industrial. Western Industrial had been awarded the detention center HVAC renovation project, and it was discussed a couple months ago that they had missed some equipment in that. And so this is the change order that goes with that. I had been going back and forth with legal to adjust some language to make sure we were clear that this is an addition to the original contract. But once that was settled, it's now ready for review and signature by the commission.
Okay, questions?
Christie, you got any concerns with this?
No, I need to look at the budgets and all of that, but I have, Shannon just sent me all the contracts so I can try and make sure we have money for everything.
But we do have money. I'm somewhere. I
I'm
would
assuming
suppose.
yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
Okay.
So this project has been approved for $170,000. With the original contract was just over 116. So with this 29, there is another, the variable frequency drives had to be adjusted by a different company. So that's where that was 22.5, which puts us just under the 170. We should have about $1,300 left in there for other potential things.
I don't have those dollars, so Shannon does, so I guess we're good.
Okay. Any questions?
No, you're good.
I'm good. I'm good.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the change order as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
All right, Christie.
Christy Clauser, Comptroller. The first item I have for the board is just to formally approve Emma Iannacone to be deployed to North Carolina for hurricane relief. We decided this would be the process due to the timing and the speed it takes to get somebody going. We have had a few bumps working the processes out for these deployments. We're learning a lot, and we'll be probably making some changes upon the next deployments. Timesheet issues, credit cards. We did have to order a new credit card because we now have 2 people with credit cards out for 2 weeks at a time. So, anyways.
We've only had 2 deployments, right?
Yes.
Do you get a credit card, and then what happens? The credit card gets canceled when they get back or something, or what?
No, they're our travel cards.
Okay.
So we sent, for Emma, she had to use the card for hotels, airfare, a rental car. And then for Karen, she had to use it for the airfare, rental car, and I do not believe she had to use 1 hotel night, but that was it, I believe.
Okay.
So we need to work on getting those receipts emailed, for the most part, this is just approval for that.
Christie and I have had a few conversations, and we're going to have to sit down and kind of map out a plan of when people travel. This was a little bit different, but also just general travels. There's a lot of discrepancies and misunderstandings, I believe, and so I'd like to have a sit-down meeting with us and Christie and HR and map out how we travel, what is paid for, what isn't paid for, kind of everybody. I want just a paper that somebody signs when they're leaving, says, I've read this, I understand this, I'm going to understand that if I'm overpaid on per diem, I pay it back. If I have these things go on, I will correct it after we get back. It doesn't mean that you're on the county's dime, and you can do whatever you want.
And Matthew has actually already put together a quick policy that is out there for initial review, and then he'll be finalizing that, bringing that before as a discussion. So.
And Christine had talked about creating a pre-approval travel form from the timesheet perspective, but if you want, we could just combine it with the other stuff like the per diem stuff and so they could.
I love the idea of having a pre-approval form that the employee and the supervisor will bring to Matthew and review what hours are eligible for payment, and then they can turn that in with their timesheet so that we know it's all accurate and is going to follow FLSA and our policy. So
Well,
Matthew's done some really good lead work and quickly too.
Yeah, we'll have it in future sessions for you to look at. So
And then
Brian's just reviewing it still.
Okay.
So
in reality, I'm glad that we're able to send people to try to help in these disasters. But it kind of blindsided us a little bit. And then some other things that have come up, I think that it's a good time to have an overall discussion of traveling and what's paid for, what isn't paid for, and how things work. So
That's that part. The next item I have is just the approval of unemployment.
let's go ahead and make a motion on them.
Oh, sorry.
So that,
Let me ask another question of this.
sorry.
Some people, they have set hours, and then if they worked over that, that would be overtime.
Right.
Is that the case with any of these guys?
So these two individuals, the grant, well, FEMA says that they will pay up to 10 to 12 hours a day. That still needs to be, the county policy still needs to be followed. So just because the grant will pay 12 hours doesn't mean we're going to just pay a blanket 12 hours. It needs to follow policy, and so the travel days, we look to see what hours qualify and what they're working, and then during the regular shift, I'm not sure what Emma's working right now, but I know Karen's working 12-hour days, and so she's getting 8 hours of pay and then 4 hours of overtime.
Okay.
And that was why we put that in a grant fund, is because county operations doesn't have the budget authority for overtime.
Right.
So we wanted to put that there so that it could be paid and then reimbursed cleanly.
Well, I think for the county, this is really good because we're getting something established, which I think is very important for us to be able to help others, because if we end up with a disaster, we're going to need help. And plus the training aspect. I mean, you can't have better training than being in an actual emergency, I think. So anyway, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Emma I. Anacone's deployment to North Carolina as discussed.
You have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
The next item, we can go into executive if you would like, but it's just approval of the Q3 2024 unemployment. We have one temp employee from the Bannock County Events Fund that we're paying $618. We still have a position that was ripped in IT that we're paying, and then we have a credit still from the coroner chief deputy position that we're receiving on that. Total quarter charges were $4,667.92. We're still working off that credit balance that we had from the Corona funds, so we still have a balance of $13,000 and change.
You good with that discussion without talking about the individuals?
Yep.
Okay.
So need a motion on this one?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the unemployment benefit charges as discussed.
You have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Give it back. All right. Looks like we have a few things under the consent agenda. First, let's go ahead and talk about salary rate approval forms, and we'd like to go into executive session on this one.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we enter into executive session under Idaho Code 74-2061A and B